In this review, alien abductions, old-timey references, and interplanetary prejudice. Don't touch that dial. As an amateur detective, it is my job to be unbiased and provide constructive criticism. This episode of ACO Investigates on Martian Panic has been a difficult review to produce, because I am incredibly conscious of the generosity of Funbox Media Ltd. In providing me with a key for the purposes of review. Sometimes a game ends up being something of a disappointment, but I hope that both my criticism and praise for the game appear non-partisan. Originally released for the Nintendo Wii in 2010, Martian Panic is a budget-priced on-rail shooter that comes either on its own or with a delightful green gun-shaped attachment. It was originally released for a console with no shortage of gun games, having to compete with House of the Dead 2 and 3 Return and Overkill, Gunblade, NY and LA Machine Guns, Ghost Squad, Link's Crossbow Training, Dead Space, Umbrella Chronicles, and Darkside Chronicles, just to name a few. Yeah, Martian Panic may have been a hard sell during the time in which it was originally released. It seemed to review favourably when it landed among its intended audience, and while it certainly had its flaws, the game was elevated to a more playable state through its usage of the Wii Remote. Re-releasing Martian Panic would seem like an out-there thing to do in the modern era, but as they say, the truth is out there. A modern re-release for the Nintendo Switch on the 25th of October 2022 from GS2 Games was made available both on its own or with a cute 1950s-style alien zapper attachment for the Joy-Con. This release would appear to be US and Canada only. And now, on the 30th of June 2023, the game makes its way to more platforms and in more regions, PlayStation 4 and Steam alongside Switch, courtesy of Funbox Media Ltd. This time, the Nintendo Switch version is available with 2 Alien Blasters bundled in. The game having had 2 publishers within the space of a year may seem strange at first, but there is a logical explanation. GS2 Games are the American arm of Funbox Media Ltd, so sometimes games get released under GS2 Games, and other times they get released under Funbox Media Ltd. When I saw that the game was made available for the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch, I had immediate concerns about the playability of those console versions, as without something to take the place of the Wii Remote's pointer, it could be difficult to make it through the harder stages, so I settled on the Steam release for mouse-based controls instead. I had already been pre-approved for a key on keymailer, so I decided to reach out to Funbox Media Ltd. And request one. What I got was exactly what I expected. A 13-year-old Wii game port. Does the game hold up? What can you expect if you drop $24.99 for the digital version, or $34.99 for the digital version with 2 gun controllers? When you've got burning questions, that's when ACO investigates. I want to remain courteous and constructive with my criticism, so I think it might be a good idea to talk about some of what makes Martian Panic so entertaining before addressing the game's presentation and the quality of the port. I wish to maintain my potential rapport with Funbox Media. Coming right out of the gate with the negatives isn't the best way to a successful working relationship. I owe a great deal to Funbox Media Ltd. There's no other company brave enough to publish the BB and Tina games, that's kind of my thing. So let's discuss the good, despite how brief. Channeling some of that casual US patriotism, Martian Panic is a sometimes hilarious pastiche of the Hollywood and radio dramas of that bygone era. You won't hear a swear, but you'll hear a golly gosh or a gee whiz. It reeks of that Americana, and sends up Orson Welles' War of the Worlds beautifully. A few moments got a smirk out of me. The Martian overlord being embarrassed by his wife's meddling was chuckle-worthy in its application of Earth nonsense to supposedly more intelligent alien life.
Oh, what are you wearing? Those aren't the clothes I set out for you this morning! How do you expect to conquer a planet wearing rags like those?
Who let my wife on the line? You are ruining my big speech!
Jeb the farmer having a license plate that reads "I love corn," and being spurred into action because his beloved, a cow named Betsy, is abducted.
No, Betsy! We'll be back together soon, my love!
The stereotypes really sell this as a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, and I commend that. Most of the shooters on the Nintendo Wii were entries in well-established franchises or took themselves way too seriously. Martian Panic knows how to crack a joke at its own expense, and it's still funny. The game consists of a number of stages set in different locales. You have the classic American diner, a barn with a cornfield, outdoor drive-in movie theater, the suburbs, a desert, city streets, and a rocket launch site. They're all moderately short and punchy stages, and the high score system encourages replayability. The leaderboards did not function when I was playing the game, but I can't say for certain that they won't work upon release, seeing as I had access to this game over a week early. They simply might not have turned them on. Martian Panic can, in many fleeting yet incredible instances, provide a moderate degree of fun and the occasional gut laugh. The cutscenes are well presented, animated in a pseudo-comic book style, and set up each stage rather well. Each of the game's 6 playable characters get a cutscene to themselves, and they're all immediately endearing in their caricatured appearance and behaviour. Their quips during gameplay are tongue-in-cheek jabs at the ongoing chaos around them, and if you decide you don't want to hear them, there's a simple toggle in the options menu to disable them. On a surface level, Martian Panic is an arcade-style on-rail shooter, and that's a fairly easy genre to recommend. Even if just once, all on-rail shooters deserve a playthrough from start to finish. There is something inherently fun and easy to understand about pointing a cursor at something and shooting it. And if that's all you're after, Martian Panic is a solid game in that department. But let's say we were to dip below the surface. That's when things get murky. The 2023 release of Martian Panic is something of a shadow of its former self. A quick comparison of the title screens between the two versions shows that the Wii has a great deal of UFO action going on, while the 2023 release is comparatively bare. When selecting characters in the 2023 release, their voice clips overlay each other, whereas the original Wii release will cut them off before playing the next one.
Got another one. Like, that's off, Martian creeps.
It's the little things like that I noticed. Don't worry, I'm just in depth like that. This is an almost straight-up port of the original Wii game, with some clearly AI upscaled textures here and there. On these character portraits, you can especially see the straight lines where curves once were, a telltale sign of an AI upscale with smoothing turned up too high. It would have taken an hour or two to redraw these, and it would have looked so much nicer. The consistently flat lighting and unpronounced shadows gives Martian Panic a rough, scuffed presentation. Models are rendered without smoothing, which would indicate that few, if any, fancy shaders are in use here. Back-facing polygons are culled, which makes objects disappear when seen from the wrong side, such as this bottle of Zap Cola being invisible from the inside, or the sky being visible from inside the buildings in the street level. It also makes these trees render their bark above the leaves. For comparison's sake, here's 2 screenshots of the same scene. Above is Wii, below is the 2023 release. Notice how the Martians have a greater amount of shading, and their models are smoother in the Wii version. Notice how the shadows are more pronounced, making what can and can't be shot stand out. Notice how the trees render properly, with their bark obscured by the leaves. Also, in each stage of the Wii version, the Martians occasionally wear level-themed hats. In the screenshot you're seeing here, a Martian is wearing a chef's hat on the diner stage. Either they don't wear hats in the 2023 release for some benign reason, or the game could just as easily be failing to render them properly, turning them invisible. Some enemies consistently stay within their dying animation state before disappearing.
There will be destructible objects scattered throughout your journey.
Seeing as it's a repeatable bug with specific enemies, that surely must have been noticed by developer NYX Digital. The same enemies don't exhibit this behavior on Wii. So here I shoot this alien on the Wii version,
Go back to Mars, greenies.
and here on 3 separate playthroughs of the same section on the 2023 release, the same alien glitches out all 3 times. This could be platform related. I don't know how easy it would be to fix. This is an older game running within a Unity wrapper, so there's a good chance that's messing with things. Enemies often pop in just off camera, which is typical of games that were originally intended to be played in a 4:3 aspect ratio. These issues are also true of the Wii version, however, so I shouldn't expect them to be fixed. With a cursor on screen to indicate exactly where you are shooting, it is wild to me that the collision detection can be so bad on many of the game's objects. Missiles, which you should be able to shoot down, seemingly cannot be, even when the cursor is positioned right on top of them. Some enemies can't be attacked if they're too far away, which means trying to attack a UFO in the distance can cost you your streak bonus. Not being able to destroy these grenades or deflect them means you simply cannot get through later levels without being forced to die multiple times. In other words, the game is broken. Parts of the environment can be destroyed, but it's not always apparent what can be destroyed and from what distance. Had the game utilized some shaders, they might have been able to indicate what can be destroyed through a visual effect. The Wii version makes this more apparent. Destructible objects are more notable thanks to their shading. Many enemies can attack you well before you can attack them. For example, these robots hiding in the cars at the drive-in movie theater can attack you before they even leave the car that is shielding them. Or almost every one of the aliens, they attack long before you can finish them off, and they take way too many shots to kill. You are forced to take damage from these enemies. There is no perfect, damageless playthrough possible. The arcade games that inspired this shooter can generally be completed on a single credit through memorization and skill. The same cannot be said for Martian Panic. The UFOs in this section specifically, there's no way destroying these on Ace difficulty is even possible with 3 hit points and only 1 continue. Maybe if you could dual wield, but even then, I'm not convinced. Unfortunately, what is at its core a fun game is marred by the quality. Martian Panic is a cut and shut port that scrapes its way to a playable state, but the Steam version's mouse input still elevates the game well beyond playable into moments of genuine merit. Despite the overall lack of sufficient quality, I would still recommend the PC release of Martian Panic when on sale for $5 or $10 as a one and done deal. If it gets a patch that fixes the graphical issues, balances the game's difficulty, great. Otherwise, this is one invasion you needn't worry about. I'll see you on the next Aiko Investigates. Until then, watch the skies. Skies.